Bankroll mode. Okay.
Welcome to Any Given Sunday's West Coast edition. It's Steve here again. Gonna run you through all the crazy games of last week. Gonna run you through my projections next week for week 5. And then we're gonna go through some rankings and see where everybody sits at, what everybody needs to do to get ahead, trades or anything like that. I tried to have breaking news for you guys, but it just didn't happen on time. So no breaking news, so we'll go right into the fun stuff. So let's go into the recap of the games. We have Tampa's Empire playing Colorado Drayton. Tampa's Empire put up a $111.5, but it was Colorado Drayton putting up 153 points. That's right. Christian McCaffrey led the way with 28 points. And so did Robert Woods. That Bucks-Rams game was just insane. On the Empire side, he had Wentz. He put up 25. He was the highest scorer. Evans at 16 was right behind him. At the end of the day, the Tampa's Empire running backs just didn't show up, didn't really give enough, and their third best scoring person on their team was a defense in Seattle, 16 points. So just wasn't enough. Tampa's Empire falls to 1-3. Colorado Drayton improves to 3-1. Our next game, we had Daytona Daunting Ducks playing a slightly punty vibe. Daytona Daunting Ducks only put up 60.5, but it was Punty Vibe who put up 81 points, improving to 2-2. Daytona Daunting Ducks fall to 2-2, and really with a slightly punty vibe, it was New England's D putting up 25 points. And then DJ putting up 17 points and White putting up 9 points. So low scoring game, but Punty Pie pulls it through. Next game, we have the Florida Thirst Traps. 0-4 now. They put up 82.5 versus McPoon Handlers Goat Engines putting up a $107.5. McPoon improves to 3-1. Florida Thirst Traps fall to 0-4. McPoon had Devontae Adams, the Chicago defense, and Matt Ryan putting up 23, 17, and 14 points. Florida Thirst Traps, they had a great showing from Leonard Fournette, putting up 27 points. But then their quarterback, Daniel Jones, only putting up 14, essentially kind of hurt them. And then their defense put up 11 points, which is good. But no running backs, nobody else improved from that marker. You have the next game. My wife ruins everything at 2-2. They put up 133 points versus Savage Gang, who put up a $105.5. My wife ruins everything, gets ahead of it, and goes to 2-2. Savage Gang falls to 2-2. And really was Nick Chubb, Lamar Jackson, Cooper Kupp putting up 22.5 points. Just really good performance from his team. And on the other side, you had Phillip Rivers, James Conner, Will Lutz. I mean, they had a good game. 105.5 is a great game, but it's just not enough in this league when you're playing someone like Dom, and they fall to 2-2. And then lastly, our game of the week. It was a divisional game. Slap Sauce putting up only 87 points. Wasn't really game of the week when you look at it. This was kind of one very early on because the New York Powers put up a $140 on Slap Sauce. New York Powers improved to 3-1. Slap Sauce falls to 2-2. The high performers on the Powers were Eckler putting up 26.5, Kenny Golladay putting up 20.5, and a great pickup of defense, which was the Pittsburgh Steelers D, putting up 19 points against Slap Sauce. All right, guys, so let's talk a little what's going on and how this is going to shake out. I'm going to go and start off with the 10th team and kind of go through the rankings and tell you what's going on within the league. At number 10, we have Florida Thirst Traps, 0-4. Just really, they're just not putting up enough points. They're at 385.5 for the year so far, by far the lowest. Giving up not necessarily the highest points against at 487. I mean, look, You gotta find something, my friend. You gotta find something, Gabe, to get a deal and, you know, move some pieces around. You need to change something up, man, because it's just looking pretty bleak right now. And you gotta shake up the roster. You gotta look for opportunities. I mean, you gotta do something, man, because it's not looking good. Sitting at 0-4. Right behind them though, myself, number 9, Tampa's Empire, 1-3, putting up 415 in points, again in the lower half of the league. So that's not shocking, and giving up the most points in the league at 535.5. Now, I don't know if this is a case of strength of schedule is like really heavy up front because all these teams put up massive points, and the teams that they've lost to are all in the top. I mean, they're top ranking teams. Colorado Drayton, New York Powers, you know, is a loss, and you know, they won against a Punty Vibe, which is a good thing, but they lost against Savage Gang. So, you know, it's tough sledding. Who knows? Maybe they can pick up some wins in there. But again, I still believe in the core, but we need solid performances from the running backs. Otherwise, I mean, this could be a long season for the Empire. Number 8, Daytona's Daunting Ducks. They lost 2 straight. Daunting Ducks, you know, from here on out, everybody's in a winning record at the very least. They're 500 or higher. So really, there's only 2 teams towards the bottom, and then you have everybody else at 2-2 or higher. And these guys are 2-2. They're hanging in there, but they've lost 2 straight. So it kind of makes you scratch your head. Putting up 393 in points towards the bottom end of the spectrum of scoring, but they also have the least amount of scoring against them at 400 points. So they're maybe this will continue. If they're in those low-end games, they can probably win some of them, more of those games. But the Daunting Ducks should think about rekeying their roster and doing some trades to get those extra points. And losing 2 straight is not a good thing. Next team after that, number 7, Slap Sauce. Slap Sauce also sitting at 2-2. So this is. You know, this is a team that, like, has the potential, right? Slap Sauce is putting up 440 points, which is respectable. I mean, again, they're in the middle of the pack. 455 points again, middle of the pack, so no wonder they're 2-2. They only lost, they've been winning 1, losing 1, winning 1, losing 1. They've only made, when you look at their moves as far as activity, they've only made 4, you know, which is not, it's kind of low. I mean, I think there's more moves to be made on this team. I think they can do something. I mean, Sean just needs to tweak the sauce a little bit. I think he could get there. I mean, you know, and the good thing is he's had a good record against the other teams in the West, and maybe he can continue that on. The next team we have sitting at number 6 is Savage Game with Kiara, putting up 451 points. Again, middle of the pack, and giving up 449.5. Again, this is a case of win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1. I think she does have a good team. This is really going to come down to matchups, you know, and I do think one of the trades that she made may have hurt her. She did trade for Antonio Brown, which ended up biting her, I would say. I mean, you know, in retrospect, you know, maybe Gabe was on top of things, and, you know, I mean, so, that, you know, maybe who knows what else she could do, and if she can rekey the roster. I mean, but it's gonna, you know, I think she's in it, and, you know, we'll see how it pans out based on the matchups. Rest of the teams now, 5 and up. You have My Wife Ruins Everything sitting at number 5, putting up 505.5. So they are towards the top, the 4th best scoring team. Giving up 493 though, so that's where they give up a lot of points. So they're towards the bottom on that end of the spectrum. Again, another win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1 type of team. Dom has a good team. I think he could be very competitive. Dom makes a lot of moves. He is actually the most active at making 18 moves so far this season. Trailing right behind them is Tampa's Empire at 15. So he is definitely rekeying the roster, trying to find those guys, trying to find any guy that he can in order to get a competitive edge. So, and I think he's typically really good at this. So I think he's going to continue to be competitive. And I think as it stands right now, he has a chance to fight and be competitive amongst the teams in the West. Above that, you have a slightly punty vibe, also sitting at 2-2. They're one of the highest scored teams as well, putting up 512 points, so third best scoring in the league. 479, which is middle of the pack against. So this is one where, truthfully, I mean, if you think about it, like one of the losses came from the Empire, and the Empire just really had a, if you look at the performance, had a lucky outing. I mean, that's one of those like Bucks versus Rams last week type of games where nobody had the Bucks, you know what I mean? So, this is a situation where I think he's in a good spot. He's sitting second in the division in the East. And all of the teams in the East are 500 or higher, so a really good division. And I think he's going to be pushing the Powers for that division title, so we'll see how it pans out. Number 3, you have McPoon Goat Engines, scoring 452 and giving up 455.5. But again, they found ways to win. They only had really one bad loss where they put up like they didn't show up essentially. But the rest of the games that they put up, they had a pretty high average. And again, I like Rich's team. This is one of the teams that I did pick that would likely win the West. And right now, he's competing with that with Colorado Drayton. So I think there's not really much for him to do. It's just sit back, plug the roster in, and win games. That's it. This one's close. This is. I'm gonna put the New York Powers at number 2, and I know a lot of people are like, but why are you putting them at number 2? And here's why. I mean, they have one of the highest scoring teams in the league. They put up 515.5. They're number 2 in the league, right? And they're at 412 against. They have one of the lowest scoring against. They have a really good roster. They've made a lot of moves. They've made 13 moves. I mean, he's a good team. He's probably the number 1 team in the East. So it's not like he's doing bad. I don't want to say that, but I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say, but he's the number 1 team. He's been winning. He's been consistent. But that gets me to my next point. Colorado Drayton is just slightly better. If you just look at points and look at their performance of the team, and again, I know Colorado Drayton has a lot of Rams, and I've been questioning that all season long, but they've been proving me wrong. I mean, they've been proving me wrong. I really thought that they would have a step back that would actually hurt them. It hasn't. They have a longer winning streak than the Powers right now. They have some pretty good quality wins that they've beaten up on teams. So yeah, this is one where I'm like, they're a good team, and probably are gonna give McPoon everything that they can, and my wife ruins everything they can for that division. So I think at the end of the day, when the season ends, they're gonna fall to either the 2 or the 3rd best team. They'll make the playoffs, but and I think that's only because I still stand by that the West is top heavy, where and they're gonna beat each other up in the West. I don't think that's necessarily the same in the East. I mean, again, I've been proven wrong before. So those are kind of where my standings are today, and where I think it's gonna go. So my top 4 teams in the playoffs today: Drayton, the Powers. Give me McPoon, and I think a slightly punty vibe slides in at the 4th spot as of right now. All right, guys, I'm gonna quickly just go through the matchups. I apologize. I don't have any guests or special guests or anything like that, but I'm gonna run through them real quick. So we have the first game. Got Colorado Drayton, 3-1, playing Florida Thirst Traps, who's 0-4. You guys know the win probability is going in favor of Colorado Drayton at 55%. I'm also going to give Colorado Drayton the approval. I mean, as I said, they have Goff, they have Gurley, they have Woods. All Rams players, all performing. Keenan Allen has been doing great. You have Christian McCaffrey on that team, which I told you McCaffrey's a beast, and he is definitely doing his work. So I do think that's going to continue. Projection has him around 113, whereas the Florida Thirst Traps are at 106.1. And I mean, again, we're seeing some craps. I mean, you have Amari Cooper at the #1 receiver and Calvin Ridley as your #2. It's just asking a lot, man. It's asking a lot for you guys to step up. I mean, I do like Leonard Fournette. He showed me something, but they're playing Carolina. That's a bad matchup. Give me Colorado Drayton in this game. Next game we got for our slot of games is Daytona Daunting Ducks, who are 2-2, playing Tampa's Empire, who's 1-3. Believe it or not, the win probability is going in favor of the Empire, and at 59%. So right now it's a little high. I mean, but I mean, I'll take it. I mean, at the end of the day, I am actually going to pick the Empire too, and only solely based on matchups. The fact that you have, you have Carson Wentz against the Jets. I mean, Carson Wentz has been like just consistent as of late, putting 25%. Mike Evans against New Orleans, I actually really like. Stephon Diggs against New York, I really like. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a blowout, and it's all going to come down if the Vikings are going to run the ball the whole game or not. And we saw that last week against Chicago, that they had to throw, and Stephon Diggs actually did really well. By the way, thank you. Just want to throw that in, winning the trade right now. Anyways, and then you keep going down. I think Mac's going to rebound. Joe Mixon's going to rebound. Joe Mixon gets Arizona, so I think he's definitely going to have a better game. On the other side, you have, Jordan Howard against the Jets. Okay, Tyler Boyd against Arizona. All right, Tyler Boyd is the #1 receiver now. We'll see how that goes. Russell Wilson against the Rams. I mean, you saw what Jameis Winston did to the Rams, so you could argue that Wilson could do it. But at the end of the day, I'm assuming he's going to replace his kicker, so that's probably 10 points right there. So you're really looking at a 101-104 game. Give me the Empire. The next game that we have on the docket, and my computer is slow today, I apologize, is Slapsauce, who's 2-2, playing a slightly punty vibe, who is also 2-2. The projection has this one close, only giving a 1% advantage, 51%, to a slightly punty vibe. I am actually going to stay with that percentage and go with a slightly punty vibe. I don't think it's going to be that close. Sean, I love your team, don't get me wrong. I'm still a fan of the team. I'm not jumping the bandwagon just yet. But a slightly punty vibe just scores. They know how to score. Dak Prescott is not going to stop. I know he had a bad game. He's going to rebound. I think he's going to have a good game against Green Bay. I think DJ is going to do great against Cincinnati. Odell Beckham Jr. has to do something. I think he's going to do something against San Francisco. DeAndre will be DeAndre. I think Evan Ingram's going to be tough against that Minnesota D, but we'll see how that plays out. And I do like Josh Gordon in the flex. On the other side, you have Sammy Watkins, and it's just hot and cold with Sammy. You don't know if he's going to get all the targets or not. I mean, he's been targeted a lot, but I'm just saying, you don't know if he's going to get the points. Travis Kelce, I think, is going to do great against Indianapolis. But what kills it is Juju against the Baltimore D. And I mean, I know Baltimore had a bad game, but they always play Pittsburgh hard. They always do. And then Derrick Henry against Buffalo, and that Buffalo D is actually something to think about. So give me a slightly punty vibe. Next game that we have is, again, waiting for the computer to load. We have the New York Powers, 3-1, playing a Savage Gang, 2-2. The win probability, believe it or not, favors the upset. Savage Gang is actually 53% favorite, as the projection has it 107.3 to 101.2. But what they don't know is there's actually someone missing from Jesus' lineup, and that, my friends, would be the kicker. So he's going to find a kicker, and then, this would sway things. I mean, I'm still going with the Powers. I think the Powers have a great matchup at Patrick Mahomes in Indianapolis, and I like that over Rivers. Chris Carson for the Rams, I think, is going to do good. But I think it's a wash when you look at Ezekiel Elliott and the Green Bay matchup. So that's a wash. Sterling Shepard versus Julio Jones. I'm actually going to give this one to Julio Jones. So Kiara wins that matchup. But then if McLaurin can go, which it sounds like he will, Terry's going to win that matchup over D.D. Westbrook. And what's interesting is he put Melvin Gordon back into the mix, so we'll see how Melvin Gordon does, and that's really ultimately what's going to decide the game. Can Melvin Gordon put it together? And if he can, he could do well. And he also has Austin Eckler in it too, so that's a very interesting move. Maybe he's doing that to play head games. I think he's going to figure it out and do something, and I still give Powers despite the buys. And then lastly, favorite segment, the game of the week. It is a divisional rivalry. McPoon Handler Goat Engines 3-1, playing My Wife Ruins Everything at 2-2. This one is slightly close. This is like 51%, 1% advantage to Dom, believe it or not. And they have it right 112.1 to 110.5. Look, my friends, this one's hard. This one's so hard, but at the end of the day, I have to believe the points. I have to believe that the points are going to continue, and I am going to actually take the upset because I believe in my man Rich, because I think T.Y. Hilton is going to come back and have a great game. I think Michael Thomas is going to blow up against Tampa. Mark my words. He's going to blow up against Tampa. Philip Lindsay against the Chargers. I like Philip Lindsay and what he's been doing. Josh Jacobs. That's a tough matchup against Chicago. So we'll see if he wins that. On the other side, though, man, I think it's still going to be close. Don't get me wrong. It's just going to come down to Lamar Jackson playing Pitt, and I don't know what's going to happen because, again, these teams just play each other so well, so good, so close. We'll see what happens. And then the other one is, can Sony Michel bounce back for Washington? And Dom's going to roll with Sony Michel, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Sony Michel doesn't outscore Chark, and I can grab Sony Michel. So we'll see what happens, my friends. Anyways, there it is. I know it's not as exciting as before. I will try to get you special guests, but the week has been crazy over here in LA. I hope you guys enjoyed this edition. We'll see you guys next time.